It's interesting how people that have no knowledge of God, nor do they have faith in God, also know the truth, the most disturbing truth, that the end of the world is coming. They don't know exactly how, they don't know exactly when, but it seems that everybody that has their eyes open to some extent can see the imminent disaster looming right around the corner. The question, of course, differs as to the method and the how, but to just name a few, well, what's on your headline every single day? AI. See, the former Google CEO said in an interview not too long ago, we're past the age of AI, we are racing toward the age of ASI, which is the artificial super intelligence, which is the kind of AI that stars in movies such as Terminator or Matrix, the kind of AI that is smarter, not just than a human, but is smarter than all human beings put together. And we are definitely headed in that direction. That's just common sense. That's just looking at the facts, examining the evidence. Well, you keep feeding that software more and more information. It watches every video, it reads every article, it knows every word, every scheme, every plan, every atomic chart, soon enough, that thing will know everything that there is to know that it has ever been put online. And what happens when that thing gains a little bit more understanding? Like the former CEO said, there will come a time 3 to 5 years from now when it no longer will take orders from us. Well, that is a cataclysmic event. End of the world judgment day type of event, when the beast we've created overcomes the creator of it. That's one possibility. I'm not saying this will happen, but it most certainly could happen. I don't see any way that we could derail from this route that we've chosen for ourselves, since we are so committed to the development and birth of AI. Everybody is feeding it 24/7 all around the globe. So, yeah, that is highly likely to happen. But if that doesn't happen, don't worry. I've just started this message. Next in line would obviously be nuclear holocaust. Now, we all know about that, which is also pretty inevitable when you think about it, that Russia has tens of thousands of bombs, the US has tens of thousands, the Koreans, the Chinese, the Europeans, and of course now Iran is chasing to get some, and sooner than later somebody is going to make that first shot and all hell breaks loose. It always does, it always will be. It's just a human nature. World War I, World War II, many wars before that. Only difference is that now we have the capability to cause some serious damage and blow up the planet to bits. And with the right tensions and the right people in power and the right opportunity at the right time at the right place, somebody presses the right button, launches the right bomb, and retaliation and more retaliation, and there you have it, nuclear holocaust. That's not too far-fetched, unfortunately, or I should say regrettably. But that is an option that many do believe is quite possible, and as a matter of fact, very probable. Nuclear holocaust. Now, some might say AI will cause that, and that would be the scenario in the movie Terminator. And some might say you've watched too many movies. Well, maybe so, but the movies come from the minds of men, and those same minds of men are also in charge of developing AI and developing atomic weapons. So is it really that far-fetched? The technology has already caught up pretty much to that level of the movie. Like I said, 3 to 5 years from now, in the words of the former CEO of Google, he knows what he's talking about. That's his field of expertise. Now, software engineers would tell you this if they ever delve into AI. It won't be long before AI replaces them and the process accelerates when AI starts programming itself, teaching itself. That's when really things pick up quickly. So that was the first AI. The second was nuclear holocaust. Now the third, of course, if that doesn't happen, and even if it does, one world government. That is another threat looming over us. You know, they already have all kind of meetings at the G7 forums in Davos and the One World Economic Forum with, I forget his name, some creepy guy, all that evil. One world government, a totalitarian state, tyrannical state, with the use of one world currency based on crypto and blockchain. So everything is monitored and controlled. They already have most of that technology in China, where they monitor everything with the implementation of some AI tools. They know everything and they can see where everyone is at all times, the carbon footprint, they monitor your finances, they control your resources. A complete totalitarian state with no chance of rebellion and uprising. They control everything. They freeze your assets, they can send drones to attack you in your home. They can track you. They put chips in you. They do that already in Sweden. Microchips in babies. They do that. They use all kind of tools to control you, to monitor you. Well, man does want to be God. And they will go to great length to achieve that. That's why they want the one world government. And listen, this is not just some hypothetical thing. This is very practical. If you actually follow the news, this is the trend that we're on. Like I said, 3 to 5 years, maybe 10, at the most. Something has got to give. There might be a war, and at the end of that war rises the one world government under the you-know-who, which we call the Antichrist. Now, if you're not a man of faith, that's not what you call him, but nevertheless, it is the one world government, which is a totalitarian state where every man, woman, and child is a slave. Now, if that doesn't kill us, then of course we got all the geoengineering. They have been spraying the planet with all kinds of chemicals and aluminum to try to deflect the sun's rays because of that madhouse and craziness with climate change. Now, of course, some would say climate change would put an end to us with the global warming and the Arctic Circle changing, diverting, the heating of the climate, the agriculture failing. That is another big one, is it not? The oceans warming, the tides rising, the icebergs melting. The whole climate of the planet would become so uninhabitable that we would most certainly die. Now, if that doesn't happen, well, of course, you have the solar flares. The sun has been acting real shady recently. All of those flares that are just getting stronger and stronger. It won't be long before one will come and knock out all of our technology and electricity, and we would return to the black age, the dark age. No electricity, and you know what's going to happen to society? It would collapse like the cheap tent that it is, a house of cards. And that would be the end of us. So that's another possibility. Like I said, climate change, solar flares, the destruction of electricity. Now, another thing I haven't mentioned is EMP weapons. I talked about nuclear, but what about the electromagnetic pulse, EMP? Or just take out the electricity and you'll see, you'll just see what apocalypse is. People without their phones and computers and electronics, you can't buy, you can't sell, no light, no refrigeration. It will be the end of society. Complete destruction and devastation without causing any actual damage, just taking away electricity. So we're going to add that to the list. Now, if that doesn't kill us, then of course we have the very fact that the Earth itself shows signs that the magnetic field is deteriorating. Well, it has been deteriorating since the creation of Earth, but As far as the timetable, it has about 1,000 years left of magnetic field before it completely depletes, unless it somehow miraculously recharges itself, which we have no evidence that it ever has done that before. So 1,000 years of magnetic field, and then the Earth will have zero protection from the cosmic rays of the universe, and life will be impossible. So that's another possibility. Now, surely we've been talking about going to Mars and going to the moon and colonizing Venus, but so far that is out of the question. We have no solutions for all of the problems of the universe. We cannot do that. That is not going to happen, but you could believe it will, and that's your choice. I'm not going to rob you of your tiny little faith. But even if you did colonize Mars, what are you going to have? A planet with no atmosphere? You're going to live in a bubble? You're going to have to bring your own water from home because there's no water on Mars. Not to mention all the cosmic rays, because, the atmosphere and the magnetic field is what keeps us safe. And, Mars is toxic. You can't breathe on Mars. And it's freezing cold, by the way. So do you really want to live on such a desolate planet with no food, no air? I don't think so. And of course, Venus, well, that is a burning planet that is about the temperature of your oven when you turn it up as high as you can. So you can sure bake a nice loaf of sourdough bread on that planet in minutes, but not so much for living. Now, if that doesn't kill us, well, don't forget the asteroids. They're coming every now and then. Well, you do believe that one came 65 million years ago, right, you evolutionists? Well, 65 million years ago, I'd say it's due to come back again sometime soon. Well, cycles in nature, right? It's just what you claim to believe. Has nothing to do with God, except your God in your imagination and how you see nature operates. Now, if that doesn't kill us, then of course, the agriculture, like I said, the pharmaceutical corporations, the toxicity, the geoengineering, the GMOs in the food, all the modified stuff, everything is modified nowadays. They just put so much poison in the food. You buy organic wheat, well, what is that? No spray, no pesticides, but it's already been genetically modified, so it's not organic. It will cause cancer, as it does already. It will cause heart attacks, as it does already. Most people in America die from diseases that really doesn't have to do much with eating too much sugar, as much as you just eat bad food, modified cornstarch, maltodextrin, all these chemicals in your food that are just absolutely destroying you, your liver, your lungs, your colon. The food is so bad for you. And of course, the cost of living keeps increased. So you settle for the cheaper and the cheaper and the cheaper. You're trying to save more, and everything is being mass produced now without the proper supervision. So you're basically poisoning yourself. You're taking yourself out without them really having to do anything. So, yeah. Now I can go on. There's still a few more things that could kill us all. But I pretty much covered most of the angles, have I not? AI, nuclear, one world government, climate change, solar flares, cost of living, the food, the poison. Now, it doesn't have to be nuclear, where there are wars happening all day long, everywhere, all around the globe, so whether the whole planet dies or just you, it doesn't really matter to you, now does it? But, of course, the one that I firmly believe and the one that I choose to advocate for is the one that the Lord has promised, that He Himself will do, and put an end to the kingdoms of this world and establish His own. And that is the coming of Mashiach, which is soon to be, where He will come right there at the time where we thought all is over. As He promised, if those days were not shortened, no flesh would survive. Those are harsh words, and I do believe that those days are coming to an end. Like I said, 3 to 5 years. We don't have a lot of time before we come to the place of no return. So yeah, Mashiach will come soon enough. And that will be the end of this world. Of course, not the end of the world, because he will establish his kingdom, the righteous will be resurrected, and we will have 1,000 years of us living here on earth in peace. Before the end of that millennial and the creation of the new heavens and the new earth, which come after, of course, the ultimate final destruction of this earth with fire, where all the enemies of God will be burnt up completely and there will be no memory of them. And that's what I believe. You choose your poison. Either way, you are going to die and this earth is coming to a closure. So, everybody knows the end of the world is coming, one way or another.